Welcome, dear Thriver to Thriver TV, where you're not just learning about narcissistic abuse, but how to heal for real from it. Many people use that term, I'm an abuse survivor, but I'm really passionate in our wonderful community here to talk about being a thriver after abuse. And of course, I don't mean that as an immediate expectation. Rather, what I'm talking about is that journey from victim to survivor can go an extra step to thriver. And there is a much more direct path from the inside out rather than just your standard survivor recovery. So, the easiest way for me to explain the difference to you is probably just to draw distinctions. So, I've noted a few today that I'd love to share with you. The first one is in leaving the narcissist, and those who are doing a normal survivor recovery can get away from the narcissist. But because there's still the trapped internal trauma within them, there's the regeneration and the staying on indefinitely of fear, pain, and feeling re traumatized. Whereas in leaving the narcissist in the thriver way to heal, the detachment is not just physical, it's actually about detoxing the narcissist's energy out of your inner being. Because narcissistic abuse is a war for your soul. It's so much more than just getting away from them. It's about literally exercising them and getting them out of your being. And once that energy is out of your being, you can start healing mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, as well as just physically. Now, let's have a look at thoughts about the narcissist. So, in a survivor recovery, as we were just talking about, the narcissist still lives on inside of you. And because the brain follows the body, your brain is thinking about your inner composition and what you're feeling. So this means obsessive rumination exists. And that keeps re traumatizing you because you're thinking about the same thing as you know you've done that, or maybe you're still doing it. You think about the same thing over and over and over without getting resolution and closure, because the resolution and closure is actually the letting go of the trauma. So it's kind of like shooting yourself with the same bullet 1,000 times over. And these obsessional thoughts continue indefinitely because your inner emotional being is not free. Whereas with the Thriver way to heal, we can use quantum freedom healing to release internal trauma, which means that there's no longer that to think about. And you're not trying to think your way out of the unthinkable feelings that you're feeling inside of you. Because of effectively letting the trauma go, the emotional self settles and the thoughts become peaceful and calm and solid. The obsessional thoughts very quickly start to melt away. On the topic of your narcissistic abuse symptoms, as a survivor, because of being trauma filled, which is so understandable, and suffering the obsessional thoughts about that trauma, it keeps generating emotional pain and fear and anxiety. So this creates toxic feelings and thoughts. Of course, you're still stuck in the real life battles because you're not better yet to do better, to get out of them and be able to seek the support and the solutions to get out of them. And of course, in that state, when your world's crumbling and you're crumbling and traumatized, there's a lack of self care. We make poor health choices. We might go for horrible food or alcohol or drugs or cigarettes or trying to have sex with somebody or, making poor choices to try and self medicate, which makes things worse. There's cortisol and there's adrenaline surges, which are breaking down your body and your being. You have the symptoms of complicated post-traumatic stress disorder. You have adrenal issues, anxiety, depression, fibromyalgia, and also any other mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and financial dis-ease, which is what disease is. And they're further fueled. It's a vicious circle. In regard to narcissistic abuse symptoms, when we use the Thriver way to heal by using quantum freedom healing, which is the healing process in the narcissistic abuse recovery program in NAP, by releasing internal traumas and bringing in source light to reset and heal what our mind can't, the body heals, the emotional somatic limbic self, the brain follows, and that brings feelings and thoughts of clarity, hope, and empowerment. Everything starts resetting back to health. So thrivers commonly go completely free from all of the nasty narcissistic abuse symptoms and become healthier often than they ever have been, even if abuse is all they've known from a young child. Now, let's have a look on the focus on trying to heal. In the surviving paradigm, it involves researching everything there is to know about narcissists and focusing on who and what that person is and what they did to you, which is like being hit by a car and people are running after the driver and leave you bleeding out on the road. Information about the driver and leaving you there still severely injured is no different from you researching narcissists and not healing your inner being. It doesn't give you any more healing than ignoring your inner wounds. Okay, just because you can't see them doesn't mean they don't exist. So the thriving model is, as Pema Chodron famously said, if someone comes along and shoots an arrow into your heart, it's fruitless to stand there and yell at the person. You're not going to get better. It's much better to turn your attention to the fact that there's an arrow in your heart. And the thriving mantra is in our wonderful community, if there is a trauma inflicted that has affected my inner being, it's not my fault, but it's my responsibility to turn inwards to heal it because it's in my body. And that's how we take our power back, heal, and get better. All right, let's have a look at the meaning of what happened in the survivor model. Being stuck in the victimization of battling abuse symptoms, we feel like it's just a terrible stroke of bad luck. And that anybody can be taken in by a narcissist, which means we're really powerless. It could happen to anybody, it could happen to us again. And we believe there's nothing that we need to change or that we could heal or change. And that nullifies the ability to be able to heal up and change ourselves, which is the only way to change and expand any area of our life anyway. There's only one person in the room. There's only one set of programming, and our ability to show up and generate, and it comes from our past. So we're not looking at that. We're not putting any meaning on this at ever. So that just leaves an orientation of this happened to me, I'm a victim, and there's really nothing I can do to ever change my life and be safe again. Whereas we're thriving, we take the orientation, this happened for me. There was a reason for this. Yes, it was shocking. It was horrible. It was the worst you could imagine, but there was a reason. And I can turn inwards to be able to meet, feel, release, and heal up the parts of me that were connected and a part of this, the other half of the magnet. It's not letting other people off the hook in any shape or form. Their stuff is their stuff, but we can only heal when we can heal. So we can heal up those parts that felt that these people were familiar. They were representing our past, our unhealed, unfinished stuff from our past. We were in repeat with it. And subconsciously, we were too afraid to lay boundaries or to anchor into our truth or our values or our rights. We didn't know how to let go and look after ourselves and be a source of love, approval, security, and survival to ourselves. We weren't able at that stage, enmeshed in it, feeling helpless. We weren't healed up enough to be able to let go and be empowered. So In the Thriver model, the orientation is this happened for me. Yes, I'm in a shocking, traumatic place, but this is my time of personal catharsis, healing, and growth to be able to level up and heal and always be safe and empowered from then on, and impervious to these people, so that I can be the self and life that would truly gratify me. That's what we do as thrivers. And it's beyond exciting. All right. So let's have a look at trust. Trust as a survivor means we're always going to have a diminished faith in life. We're going to try to learn more about how to identify narcissists to keep ourselves safe rather than doing the inner work to grow and heal ourselves up to be safe. We're going to suffer a lack of trust of others in life, and especially of self, because of still feeling damaged and empty on the inside and needy to be saved and rescued, which actually makes us highly susceptible to a narcissist and bad people that exploit us. As a thriver, we undertake the development and the growth of healing our inner being and learning how to show up authentically. And then we can take our time to get to know people because we feel whole and solid on the inside. We don't feel empty and needy anymore. And we know that there's no need to put oneself and life in the hands of others. We can stand back and ascertain them over time, speak up, lay boundaries, have limits. And that a healthy and safe, fulfilling life is about trusting ourselves to show up authentically and self-partnered. Okay, the laws of life. As a survivor, we don't embody or realize or actualize the quantum law of so within, so without. Whatever my programming and my inner composition is what I will choose, who will choose me, what I will show up in, what I will participate in, and what I will try to fix to try to make my inner being better. So that's living life from the outside in, which is like trying to put a cart in front of a horse. It'll keep rolling back and squashing the horse. And the same thing happens with us. So when we're living life from the outside in, we're trying to monitor, control, and change people and situations in order to have a healthier, happier life. And it doesn't work because it's all unconsciously generating from the inside. Whereas if we are taking on the Thriver model, we accept and learn more about that quantum law of so within, so without, which is the knowing of unfolding our lives from our inner universe into our outer universe. Understanding as an adult that our subconscious programs are responsible for over 90% of how you feel, what you think, who you choose, how you treat yourself, and who, what, and how you participate in life. The inner work changes this because it creates your life powerfully and effectively from the inside out. And that's exactly what Quantum Freedom Healing and the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Program is. So let's have a look at boundaries. In the survivor model, this is continuing to struggle without a healthy inner standing of boundaries, which is your values and your truth and your rights. So when we don't have that, we continue people pleasing because we want to keep them happy so they will love us and look after us. So what happens rather is we allow exploitation. Things start going wrong. We get a feeling, we get an intuition, we don't show up, we don't question, we don't lay boundaries. Or by the time it's gone way too far, we're using ineffective ways of speaking up, which fuels a narcissist, gives a narcissistic supply. It allows them to manipulate and abuse us while we're trying to get our needs met. And then, of course, you may choose hermit withdrawal from humanity, connection, and love because it's just too painful and difficult. Whereas in the Thriver model, we use quantum freedom healing to release old, painful programs that we're handing power away so that we do listen to and back up our intuition. We ask questions. We ask for proof if necessary. We speak up, we state limits without the fear of criticism, rejection, abandonment, or punishment, which are the fears of crap that we carried from our childhood, the acronym. And we're willing to leave relationships if boundaries are not respected. We'd rather lose another than lose ourselves ever again. And by living that alignment, you carve out much healthier, real, authentic connections because what we choose is what we get. Okay. And what you allow in your life is what you'll get. So our life up levels because that's the life we live. So, oh gosh, it really is like night and day. And my heart goes out to you in spades because I used to live the survivor model and I actually nearly died because I wasn't surviving my traumas and my wounds. And while I was looking outwards and I wasn't turning inwards to heal, and I didn't know how to, nobody was even giving me the information or the processes to do that. Everything was just focused on the narcissist. And people were saying, well, you're just going to have to research and talk it out for years. And then I'm in forums with people who said, well, they've been doing that for 20 years. And I could just tell by the way they were writing, and their lives were still so limited. They weren't thriving at all. And I knew there had to be something more than that model. And there may be some, amazing people who can just think their way out of it and create amazing lives. Whereas most of us mere mortals, if we don't find a way to be able to let go and purge all of that toxic trauma, which is unspeakable and unthinkable, the things that narcissists do, well, then we can't be free of the trauma to start thriving. So I understand if you are barely surviving the abuse or you are stuck in surviving your wounds every single day, it is exhausting. And I really hope you understand that the information I'm sharing with you today is not to shame you. And it's not to blame you. I hope it's to give you hope. It's to inspire you. Because when we're crippled in mere abuse, survival, trauma, and we believe that anybody can be taken in by a narcissist and there's nothing that we can do about it, well, then we just stay sick and broken. And for some people, you can barely even survive that. I certainly wasn't going to. So this is why I am so passionate about the Thriver Recovery model. And I feel so blessed that I was able to save my own life by channeling quantum freedom healing. And I feel so blessed and humbled that I was able to develop the narcissistic abuse recovery program for myself and others to be able to found a Thriver way to heal from abuse. That has proven, again, humbly, to revolutionize previous healing paradigms. So I hope that by looking at the differences, you can understand why. And most of all, I want you to know that there is a new and a true way to heal. And there's no way that your soul intended for you to stay stuck in your trauma. Your best self and your best life is yet to come. I really believe that for you. So until the next one, keep smiling, keep healing, and keep thriving. And I hope you understand after today why I always say, because there's nothing else to do if we want a great life. Lots of love. Bye-bye.